Today, we're digging into something that's absolutely fundamental to management, but honestly, it's a key to success in pretty much any part of your life. We're talking about the power of planning.
You know the feeling, right? We'd all been there. You're busy, you're putting in the hours, you're ticking things off a list. But when you look up, those big, important goals still feel miles away. It's that classic hamster wheel, a whole lot of motion, but not a lot of forward progress. So what's the missing piece?
Well, the solution is having a blueprint before you start building anything. And in the world of management, we call that blueprint planning. Think of it as the bridge that you intentionally build to get from where you are right now to exactly where you want to go. And here's the best part. This isn't just for huge corporations with corner offices. Nope. Planning is a totally universal tool. You can apply it to any goal you have, whether it's massive or something you want to get done by next week. I really like this quote because it just makes so much sense. It strips away all the jargon. Planning isn't some super complex theory. It's just the simple, powerful discipline of thinking before you do something. It's about looking out at the horizon, trying to anticipate what's coming, and then making a conscious choice about which path to take. So, let's get a little more specific. When we talk about planning in a formal sense, what are we really talking about? Okay, here's the more official take. And the most important word on this slide, by far, is selection. See, planning isn't just about making a simple to-do list. It's about looking at all the possible roads you could take to reach your goal, and then deliberately selecting the best ones, the right objectives, the right policies, the right programs to get you there. It's all about choice. This really breaks down the DNA of what planning is. It's always, and I mean always, focused on a goal and looking toward the future. It's a thinking game, an intellectual process, and this is key. It's the primary function of management. Everything else, from organizing to leading, flows from the plan. It's also pervasive, which is just a fancy way of saying it happens everywhere, at every level of an organization. And finally, it's not a one-and-done thing. It's continuous, and it's always about being more efficient, getting the most bang for your buck with the least wasted effort. All right, so that's the what and the why. But how do you actually do it? Let's walk through the 5 essential steps for creating a really solid plan. This visual kind of lays out the whole roadmap for us, taking us all the way from a basic idea to a concrete action. We're going to break down each of these steps right now. Okay, first things first. You can't possibly figure out how to get somewhere if you don't know where you're starting from. Step 1 is all about taking a good, honest look at your current situation. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What resources do you actually have to work with? You got to know where you stand. Next up, step 2. Once you know your starting point, it's time to define the destination. This is where you set those clear, measurable goals. What does success really look like? Be specific. How will you know, without a doubt, that you've arrived? Step 3 has a bit of a technical name, premising, but it's basically about forecasting. It's your chance to play fortune teller. This is where you make your best, most educated guesses about the future environment. Will the market change? Will a new technology pop up? You're essentially defining the weather conditions and the terrain that your plan is going to have to navigate through. And now we get to the heart of the matter, choosing your path. In step 4, you'll identify a few different ways you could reach your goal. You'll weigh the pros and cons of each, and then you pick one. You select the single best course of action. This is where the big strategic decisions really happen. And finally, step 5. Look, a big, ambitious plan rarely succeeds all by itself. It needs backup. So here, you create all the smaller supportive plans that make the main one possible. You know, if your main plan is to launch a new product, you're going to need a marketing plan, a sales plan, a budget plan. These are the detailed how-to guides that make sure the grand strategy actually gets done. Of course, not all plans are the same size. Planning happens on totally different scales and time horizons, and it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. This table breaks it down perfectly. Think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, you've got strategic planning. This is the big picture, long-term vision, the stuff that shapes the entire future of the company. Then, in the middle, you have tactical planning. This is where you translate that broad vision into more specific goals for different teams or departments. And down at the base, you have operational planning. This is the super detailed, short-term, day-to-day stuff, the specific actions we need to take this week to make it all happen. And here's another way to slice it, just by time. You've got your long-range plan, which is like your North Star. It sets that big, ambitious direction you're heading in. And then you have all your short-range plans, which are the concrete steps you're taking right now, this month, this quarter, to move you just a little bit closer to that North Star. So we've covered a lot, but what's the big takeaway here? Why does getting good at planning really, truly matter for you? It all boils down to this. Planning gives your work a clear purpose. It's the difference between wandering around and marching with direction. It keeps you and your team focused on what's actually important. By thinking ahead, you automatically reduce surprises and uncertainty. You get way more efficient because you stop wasting time and energy on the wrong things. Making decisions gets easier and faster because you have a framework guiding you. And finally, a good plan gives you a yardstick to measure your progress. It puts you firmly in the driver's seat. So, I'll leave you with a question to think about. It doesn't have to be some grand 5-year master plan. Just based on what we've talked about, what is one small thing, one first step, that you can plan to do tomorrow to move yourself even an inch closer to one of your goals?